computer.
Hello.
Hi, I'm gonna make you a co-host. So it's like 10 minutes after class, so half of my class has been really good and they're here. So I'm recording it for the other half of them to see. But you guys had such a good example with your precedents that I really wanted to show graphic representation, and a couple of them in here wanted to do a lot of things by hand.
Oh, that's
So,
great.
yeah, so I was hoping that you two could show your work.
Yes, of course. I'm just waiting on Omar because I lost my email 2 weeks ago, my Cornell email, so it's been a mess. Like I'm on Zoom through Cornell, but then I use my personal email, so there's some things I can't access. So I'm using my iPad, so I think he's gonna be the one sharing the presentation. Cause I
Every
can't,
time I change schools, that happens, and I'm like, oh my
yeah,
God.
it's crazy. And it's like I just found out about this last week. So it's like, and there are some things I have access, there are other things I don't. So it's just like trying to navigate through that.
Yeah,
Have you been? It's
I've
been
been good.
yeah, it's
Omar
been
said he can't see it, the link. Could you text him?
yes, I'll send.
I'm gonna text him as well. Mm. Okay, yeah, he got it.
Over.
All right.
Okay, perfect. So if you could just share your project, I'm gonna make you a co-host too, Omar.
Perfect.
Thanks.
All right. There. Quickly. All right. Can you guys see the slideshow?
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So I guess we can get started, introduce ourselves really quickly. I'm Omar Leon. I had the opportunity of being in Sydney studio for my third year. And then I've been working alongside her. She's been my mentor for since then. Yeah, excited.
Hey, hi, my name is Alejandra. I also had the opportunity to work with Sydney my third year. I graduated in May and I'm working in New York.
All right, okay. So the project we titled Reimagining Liberty City. We began the project by kind of going through a visual analysis of exactly what Liberty City was about. We didn't have the opportunity to visit the site, but originally we kind of walked through the Google Maps. Um, I've lived in Miami for more than half of my life, so I had like a good grasp on exactly like the area and what really entailed kind of being there. Then we started the project by kind of understanding the importance of the porch and what the porch kind of entailed, especially in Liberty City and in Black culture in general, and how these activities manifested themselves in the porch. However, in Liberty City, because of the typology that exists, this kind of culture was dying. And so we thought we could continue to analyze that through either work, leisure, dialogue, and play.
And then just taking all these elements that already exist in there, we kind of thought of using both visual representations and the architectural elements that we saw throughout to kind of reimagine these activities. And that's how we if you can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So this is how we would reimagine in work. Mainly like there were a lot of marketplaces that were taking place in the porch, but how can we bring this imagination into place to think of how the work can be flipped through work, through, again, leisure, through dialogue, kind of these informal activities that were already set in place, but kind of bringing their more of the potential that already was embedded within the cultural landscape that existed, and also, yeah, through play.
Yeah. So after that, we kind of used that as like our main design factor or kind of focus on using collage as a driver for our design. And then we continue to then explore these physical manifestations of our collages throughout all of kind of Miami, and especially Liberty City, and the rituals that happen there within these objects. So the domino tables, hanging the clothes, the different shrines that happen in each corner, how these informal chairs and movements begin to create informal spaces within the porch and outside. Some of the ornamentation that happens is kind of key to maintaining somewhat, like, at least for us, we found that that ornamentation was something that really showed within that area and also kept people kind of held and tight with their own culture as well, because it was kind of um that continuance of time that it's kind of being erased in the area. And so with that, we thought it would probably be important to also keep that going.
Yeah, and then just basically, as Omar said, like sampling this different elements that we took as design elements and kind of expanding them through our architectural design. So if we go to the next slide, but then also having a broader understanding of Liberty City itself. We went through Google Maps through, again, we didn't have access to the site physically, but through digital tools, understanding what kind of food markets were there, laundromats, churches. And we noticed that a lot of them were around the bigger block. So that was kind of also a big design element within our proposal to kind of embed this activities more so within the block and not just structure it around it.
It was also key for us.
Go ahead.
You go. It's also key for us to kind of see that within the new developments that are happening in that area, to kind of bring back that identity that's found in other areas of Miami. So begin to tie that back to the greater Miami, I think was almost like important for us to understand how both color, activities, right, ornamentation, all these things that are usually not embedded within like architectural projects become almost the forefront of ours.
And then also pushing representational style, using quilting really as our architectural tool to understand. If we began to fracture these buildings, start to tilting them, bringing the porches together, how can we really understand space, and how can the porches themselves start to create this conversation, not only within themselves, but also within the urban fabric and activities that are already happening.
So it was almost key for us to design backwards. I think Sydney mentioned that a lot. On like imagine these as final renders and then go from there and understand what can lead to those kind of manifestations of representation. And so this was some of the process that led us there, kind of hand drawing and understanding how these final renders that we had done through collaging begin to kind of almost manifest themselves onto the block, and seeing how we can then begin to tie these activities together architecturally as well.
Yeah, and as you can see here, like this kind of breaking the blocks apart, really speaking to the urban fabric, to the surroundings, how the corners are speaking to the other blocks themselves. And also was really important, and that we haven't mentioned yet, there was this historical wall that was happening on the right side of, if you can, do you have the mouse? I don't know if you can.
They know where the
Okay.
segregation are.
Yeah, exactly. So how can we also expand our block and our architectural techniques to expand onto this? And if you go to the next slide, so really bringing the building itself into the conversation of the wall, but then also to keep in mind not to overly design, kind of bringing this idea of the porch itself being reused and repurposed to expand on that idea on the wall itself, and kind of bringing this multi-purpose idea into that urban fabric.
Yeah. So then the typology itself that we designed was based on kind of the existing typology of Liberty City on this like elongated multi-apartment, and the shotgun house itself as well within the individual units. And so combining that to kind of almost reimagine and shift that narrative to create a communal space in the center within these different units. And then the units themselves, of course, act as housing, but have their own porch space in front of them as well. And so creating this an even more like almost exaggerated porch space became the place of activity for the typology. And then oftentimes a lot of different activities that happen could be almost inversed or replayed. In some areas where there's a laundromat on the first floor, it becomes a disco laundromat. And so it becomes a space of gathering and play outside of just you using it as a laundromat during the day. And so these activities kind of begin to shift and play based on what is needed.
Yeah, and then also something to recognize is also Miami's weather, and bringing that idea of the steel ornamentation, kind of creating with the steel itself this porosity, so that there is like this really indoor-outdoor connection within the porch itself, but then also with the interior of each housing unit. And as Omar mentioned, we really truly designed through the people that were using it. So we kind of gave a house to each person, and kind of design, okay, so if this person owns this laundromat that then becomes this kind of disco place later, what kind of configuration would it house would need for this to allocate? It's like their necessities, compared to, for example, the hairdresser that also had a nail salon, that had a husband. So kind of that kind of expanding on that narrative of who's using the space became really important, so that we can design with as much specificity as we could.
Yeah, I think it's also important to note that during the studio, we did have a lot of conversations and talks with people from the community, which kind of directly influenced, I guess, like to say that the program didn't come from like nowhere. But it came from the people who were speaking on their experiences and what they wish things could have been or could be better in their own community. And so I think using that as the main driver is always, I feel like, very important to kind of have a grounded project.
Yeah, especially when you guys will have the opportunity to visit the space, like actually have the time to talk to the people, the residents, what they would envision, what they would like to have. Actually, I feel like one of the biggest compliments I've ever received, it was one of the reviews when one of the residents mentioned, like, I can see myself living there. So like that kind of really explains the idea of you're really designing through their eyes and trying to understand a space that they would want to habitate.
So then to consider kind of the building structure of it all, we kind of made sure that the actual typology was easy to replicate and also pretty easy constructible. And so considering the fact that we're using an existing typology and shifting it, there's a lot of implications when it comes to that. And so keeping it as realistic as possible, because at the end it is affordable housing, and understanding that like these things should be realistic in a way, was kind of also pretty important for us in the way that we laid out the two floors.
Yeah, and then just here you can see kind of the idea of these two elements, the more like tectonical of the interiors, and then the steel ornamentation in pink. And then if we go to the next slide. As we mentioned before, given the conversations of the people we had with the residents, understanding the jobs that they have, we kind of sample our ornamentation in 4 different activities. So as you can see here, like the barber shop, and bringing elements from a barbershop into the steel ornamentation, same with the nail salon, with the quilting and the laundromat. So as to see that so that their activities and the things that they are doing in the porch are being expanded as a design element also through the ornamentation.
So using the actual steel ironwork to extend outward and begin to create program was something that we focused on, and understanding that that can create areas for plants, areas for people to sit on, areas for commercial use, for people to have jobs, right? Economic opportunity, and really create a self-sustaining culture in itself. So that way the architecture is almost acting as something that's initiating, rather than just like hoping that people engage in that way, right? Because it's often, I feel like with projects where you engage with something and you say that the architecture will do, but it's not actually, right? You're just like putting collage. But here, yeah, that like mediator of the steel became the most important part in understanding that like these things are telling people or almost helping people make this happen as well. It's another representation of how the porch expands, not only at the bottom, but also on the second floor as well, and the activities that are happening simultaneously. It's also important to also note that all these images of people are from photographers of Liberty City, and everyone here that we put within our collages are people that exist or have existed in Liberty City as well. So it was almost key to understand that like this is for these people specifically. Yeah, that's our project. Sorry, we were like not as refined as third year, but we did our best.
No, I thought it was great. And the fact that you two were generous enough to give me your time, like after work, 2 years later, I really appreciate you both. Thank you.
Of course.
Of course. Yeah.
Since
And
there's
then sorry. No, like
No,
we
tell
just
me,
have,
tell me.
like I think you mentioned to also show some of pictures of our model. Do you
Yeah,
want
yeah, if that's okay.
to quickly expand on this? And because you kind of you mentioned at the beginning of like not really like really push your medium and what you can do, like not just be what's currently being given in a given syllabus or anything, like not only through representation but like truly any deliverable that you have, really think of how can it be added to your narrative. And I feel like in a way this is one of the most unique models I've ever made, but that really spoke to what we were trying to entail. So it was a multimedia model in which we projected images and sounds of people in Liberty City, and kind of like bringing that idea of the activities that were being already embedded there, and how can they be utilizing our building itself. So yeah, these are just pictures of those.
Beautiful. Are there any questions from you all or any reactions?
Were the collages at the beginning, were those for like what we're doing now, basically, like they're working like desktop?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So there was a question for me. There was a question about the mappings and how they translate. The collages that you all had, remember how you were saying I taught you all to design backwards, Omar? I haven't started that with them yet. I'm making them do all the design analysis. So they were like, wait, where are the collages coming in from? Like when's that? So
Yeah.
that's next week basically that they'll or sometime this week that they'll be starting. It just I need them to kind of hit that moment in the studio before I pivot. But they're just like, when are we gonna start that?
That's the fun part.
That's the fun part. Yeah, I really loved the model. Did you ever record the video that you had made when you projected it?
Yeah, we have some videos. We're trying to really dig deep.
Yeah, if you ever find it, because I remember being curious myself, like wanting to see it, and because I've never actually seen the video itself. I just saw the day that you had done the install.
Yeah.
You have to
Okay,
dig into
well,
the archives.
Yeah.
I promised everyone this wouldn't be long, so I'm gonna wrap it up. But I really appreciate you both taking your time. Thank you.
Of
Of
course.
course, thank
Anytime.
you.
Okay, I'll write to you both.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
All right, have a good night.
Yeah. Have a
You
great night.
too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
They're saying bye.
Bye.
Bye. I can't see them, but bye.